Well boys, something different for the channel. As you guys know, we do mainly side-by-side content, install videos, riding videos. Today we got something different. This is a 2025 Polaris. Yes, it's a Polaris, just like your Razor. This is a Polaris Slingshot R. This is their on-road vehicle. I believe it's their only on-road vehicle made by Polaris. And this is the R model. There is different models of this machine, but we're doing a quick overview, first impressions. We've had this for a few weeks. Today's the first chance I've actually had to drive it on the freeway and highway by myself. I once drove it with my mother-in-law and I couldn't go too fast, but this time drove on the highway, freeway, city driving. We're giving you my first impressions, give you an idea of what this machine is like. Basically, from the outside looking in, I knew nothing about this machine until Polaris reached out. I knew of them, I've seen them before, as far as on the streets, on the highways, but I've actually never driven one. Didn't know what they were about, didn't realize there's a 2-liter engine underneath the hood, and didn't know that they were that much fun to drive. So let's get into it. This is the first impression slash overview of the Polaris Slingshot, model year 2025. Dude, my wife's killing it on the pictures right now. Let's talk about my first impression. So I want to talk about this machine in the way that many of you will see this machine. You may have not ever driven one, you may have seen one on the streets. Same for me. I got into this machine thinking to myself, is this a sports car? Is this a motorcycle? What in the world is it? Well, it's neither. It turns out they call it a autocycle. So not an automobile, not a motorcycle, an autocycle.
What the hell is that?
And that's because, well, the elephant in the room, this thing only has one wheel and it's on a swing arm setup. As you can see here, it is belt driven, kind of like your Razor. And well, that's the biggest thing about this machine. It's actually what draws a lot of people's attention. You know, although the styling is like pretty exotic slash bold, the rear wheel being one wheel in the back is actually like super odd, and you don't really see it, at least not every day for sure. Now in the front you have a traditional setup, just like your daily driver, 2 wheels controlled by an old-fashioned steering wheel. You got double wishbone or double A-arm suspension up in the front here. There's no wind noise when you're in here. And as you can see, it's a very minimalist design. There's no plastic liners, very simple. But yeah, double A-arms, rack and pinion style. There you can see the battery. I don't know if you can see it in that corner. Braking setups, we have Brembo brakes up front. They're pretty massive brake calipers for the size and weight of this machine. I can't really compare it to anything right now, but for me, the brakes have been good. You do have to realize though, there is no brake booster, so you do have to mash on the brakes. I'm kind of used to it when it comes to, like, you know, the side-by-sides. Since we're out here in the right front, you can see the exhaust tip poking out there. And that is your exhaust. It looks like a 2.5 inch coming out of a 4-cylinder engine. So I think we'll pop the hood. Actually, first let's do a little walk around in the front and then we'll open up the hood so you guys can see what's underneath. So body styling, as you can see, it looks insane. You got that rear shark fin in the middle, and then there's 2 rollover protection bars above the seats. In the front, the styling is just on another level as far as bold, as far as exotic. It's got like a DNA of an exotic car, but at the same time it's kind of sporty, more toyish, I guess you can say. This is definitely a recreational vehicle. It's not going to replace your Ferrari, which for the most part, if you guys are watching this video like me, we don't own one of those, or maybe like your Corvette. It's just a different experience. We'll talk about more about how this is different, but yeah, the styling in the front has got LED signature lights here, and same thing on the other side. And then the center, I believe, is basically your low beam, high beam setup. You do have some amber markers. This does have turn signals because it is street legal, unlike your Razor, at least out here in California. In the back, we got the Slingshot R logo badges, and then we have our tail lights set up. Definitely some funky looking taillights. They swoop through here and match the body lines. Very simple in the back. This pretty much protects from any gravel and stuff, so it's not painted. It's just bare plastic, which is fine. but definitely you can stand back here and you can see the Dorito shape that this thing is. It definitely has like a bit of a wedge shape to it, triangular, which makes it really interesting when you're trying to park the machine. Normally you would look in the rearview mirror and kind of match up the body lines, and you kind of think that should be parallel with the car itself, but it's not. It's at an angle, so parking this is kind of awkward. But, you know, I'm going in reverse. Oh, you got the boys out here playing in the dirt. Side profile, you don't have any doors. This is a machine that you just crawl in and out of. Definitely doors, I wouldn't say it would be a bad idea, but I think the whole purpose of this vehicle is to have that open cab feel and feel like you're more, you know, one with the environment in the area. We got this windscreen. It's about a foot tall, helps protect with the wind. You definitely still want to use a full face helmet because the wind still kind of pushes on top of your head. And then the cockpit, super simple, nothing crazy. This is very reminiscent of a Polaris Pro R because of the infotainment system, the cluster, the controls, the feel of the plastic, and basically the fact that it's an open cab machine. Now the seats are different than any of the Polaris off-road vehicles, but still comfortable, have no complaints so far. There is a heated and cooled option for these seats, although this one does not have it. That's pretty cool that they offer it. Now in the cockpit, this is actually pretty comfortable. I do feel like the seat is a little taller than I thought it was gonna be. I thought you were gonna be slinked back. I'm used to my old Chevy Camaro that you were kind of like laying down or sitting on the freaking floorboard. But it's actually really comfortable to drive and actually makes it a lot easier to see over the hood. Ride command setup is awesome. If you guys are familiar with the Polaris RZRs, you'd be right at home. Basically identical with a little bit of a Slingshot twist. You do have navigation for the streets, and earlier I was running out of fuel and this thing gave me gas stations nearby, which makes life a lot easier. If your phone is dead, you can find a gas station fairly easy. Now the gauge cluster is very similar to the RZR Pros with the two sweeping needle gauges, one for speed, one for RPM, and then all your information in the center. This machine is pretty odd because it has a manual gearbox, but it's not a manual. This is what they call an auto drive, I believe. So it has a manual gearbox, but it's actually electronically controlled. So no clutch pedal, everything shifts on its own, reverse, neutral drive. And you can hear and feel the shifts, and they remind you of a manual transmission. Like that feeling of 1 to 2, you hear the freaking same exact sounds as it shifts through the gears. So definitely if you want more of a driver's machine, you probably want to go with the manual. If you're like me and the wife is going to drive the Slingshot, you're going to want to go with the auto. It does have two different feelings when it comes to how fast or how it shifts, and that's because of this button right here. This is the Polaris Slingshot mode, and basically it just gives you quicker shifts, and then for the engine it gives you a more snappy feel. Now because we have ride command, we also have volume controls and track controls. You can pause the music, you can talk to your assistant or Siri. That pairs up nicely with the ride command and the Rockford Fosgate speakers. We got two speakers, one on each side, and two tweeters, and I believe that's it. I didn't see any others, but definitely that's enough just to get some music and get that vibe going, right? Back to the steering wheel controls, we do have the old turn signal switch as well as the pass, and then we do have a horn, and of course we have paddle shifters. Well, not all vehicles come with paddle shifters, but this is a sporty machine, so paddle shifters just make sense. All you gotta do is throw it into manual mode and you can shift the gears yourself. Underneath the ride command, we have the start stop button for the push to start to turn on the vehicle, traction control, which you want to keep on. As I've learned, I've kind of spun it out a couple times. Well, I did it on purpose, but definitely huge difference between it being on and off. We have a hazard switch, and then we have an interior light switch. This actually turns on two different modes, one white light and one blue light for your footwell. So if you drop your wallet, maybe you drop your purse, right there you can find it with the light. So that's pretty cool. You do have a manual park brake, which you must use basically all the time because this machine does not have a park gear. Like I said, it's just like a manual transmission. There is no park. You literally have to put it in neutral, put the parking brake on, and that's how you park this machine. Here we have your center console. I do have a USB cable here because down below you do have access to a USB. You connect your phone that way. Over here, this glove box is pretty big. As you can see, we have our DJI drone remote, but you can fit a couple of things in there. Maybe a small bag, definitely some extra stuff here. That cubby also has access to a 12-volt outlet and a USB outlet. Speaking of USBs, there's another one right here, as well as a 12-volt outlet. Behind the seats, on both sides, it's the same. There is this compartment here to put your helmet, which is pretty cool that you could fit a full-size, full-face helmet. So you have that on both sides. One thing that's interesting is the belts are opposite to each other, so they're both on the inside. Let's pop open the hood and show you guys the star of the show. I mean, the 2-liter engine from Polaris, the Pro Star, is awesome. We have it in the Polaris Pro R, and basically the same engine, different iteration, but the same engine is in this Slingshot. There's a latch underneath, and this thing opens up really odd, kind of like an old Viper. It pops open the hood frontwards, and you got this whole access to basically everything. This is going to be a machine that's very easily serviceable. So, alignment, parts replacement, diagnostic service. Here we have the Pro Star engine from Polaris, 2 liters. This machine does have some pep to its step. It's not super fast. I think the way they have this machine tuned is they don't want you to have full power from the start, because you will spin the tire. It's only one wheel. You have less traction than the conventional 2-wheel rear-wheel drive vehicle. So definitely the tune seems to be a little bit of a dog lower down, but then once you get up into the higher speeds, it does have some pep. So like I said, this engine is identical almost to the one in the Polaris Pro R. This actually came out before the one in the Pro R did, I believe in 2020. The Pro R came out in 2022. So this machine has had this engine before the off-road vehicles did. I don't know the horsepower for this exact model, because the different models do have different power levels. We'll flash this one on the screen for the Slingshot R. That's what we have today, and that's what we're going off of. So this machine is naturally aspirated. There is no turbo, there is no supercharger, so you got instant throttle response. It is pretty torquey, but not crazy. It's definitely a fun time without getting out of hand, I would say. So we'll close this hood. It's got 3 latches on it. Gotta make sure they are latched. So here it is, guys. What do you guys think about the Polaris Slingshot? Polaris's only on-road vehicle that I know of. Although they do also own Indian, which makes motorcycles. Under the Polaris branding, this is the only one. And I gotta say, this is not a machine that I was looking for. Polaris kind of reached out to me in this situation. I made the dumbest Instagram post, and it was just a story. The boys over at UTV Speed were making a cage for one of these, and I was like halfway sick. And I just said, what in the world are you guys doing? I was talking to Aaron, the fab guy over there at UTV Speed, just messing around, clowning with him. Oh my God, you're kidding me. Is this what we're doing now? What are you doing? And they reached out and they said, hey, you want to drive one of these for the summer? Yes! Definitely. A big shout out to Polaris and the brand amp. They told me if I wanted to drive one of these for the summer. So I said, hell yeah, let's do it. And I'm glad I did. This is an experience that I've just never felt before. So I've driven motorcycles, street bikes. I worked at a Chevy dealership. So I've driven Corvettes, Camaros, convertible, Pontiac, Solstice. This is just a different feeling. You have a little bit of a vibe from both. It's a sporty car type vehicle, because you're driving it like a regular car with a steering wheel, you're sitting down. So compare that to a sports car, Camaro, Corvette. But then it's an open cab, and you feel more connected to the road and the scenery around you like a motorcycle. Coming up this hill, we're coming up the 15 freeway, and like the mountains, I never noticed any of the mountains or the rock or any of the scenery or the greenery. You just don't notice it in your pickup truck or in my wife's Tesla. You just drive by it. You don't hear anything outside. The cab's quiet. You just don't feel it. And then on this thing, it reminds me of being on a motorcycle, because, now don't get me wrong, all you motorcycle guys, I know the difference between this and a motorcycle. Like acceleration, the feel of carving some canyons. I know the difference, but you do feel that one with nature, kind of, because you just start looking at everything, and everything's so goddamn beautiful when you're not in a closed cab vehicle. So it gives you that feel. You feel more one with the road, with the environment. You also feel the engine more. Like you get all the feels, the vibrations, the engine sounds, everything through your helmet that you just don't get in a regular vehicle. They call that NVH, noise, vibration, and harshness. This has it. Like you feel the noises, you feel the vibrations, you feel, I don't want to say harshness, but you feel the road a lot more through these wheels than you do in a regular sedan or even a sports car. It's just a different vibe. We will have more content on it. I do want to do an actual like review of the machine, like long term, what it's like using it, the practicality of having a machine like this, because let's face it, this is not something you might drive every day. Depends on your job. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. And definitely it's not something you're gonna want for the family. Like for example, I have a wife and 2 kids, 2 little girls. We don't all fit, of course. There is no 4-seat version of this. This is more of drop off the girls with my mother-in-law, take the wife out to a nice morning ride and have breakfast somewhere and enjoy it that way. It's more like the Polaris RZRs on the off-road scene. It's something you gotta make time for, but it's super, super enjoyable. Speaking of Polaris, there's a Pro R. Howl in the mail. So it is a recreational vehicle. It is more of a toy in that aspect. Can it be your daily driver? I would say 100%, and it will be a fun ass daily driver. Another thing I want to mention when it comes to the Slingshot is that it's not bad on gas. I mean, it fits about 8.5 gallons, I think more, maybe 9 of fuel in this fuel tank, and it's gonna get you pretty decent gas mileage. So can it be your daily driver? Questionable, but definitely it is one of those toy-ish things that you kind of want, right? Like the Polaris RZR, you buy one of those. Our Pro R, we did a cage, nets, doors. We're gonna do an audio system soon. This thing, it's like cage, wrap, you know, like maybe some lights. It'd be really cool to pimp one of these out. Like, it's just one of those things where it's fun. Will we keep this machine like we did the RZR Pro R? Not 100%. This is the higher end model. This one starts off at around 35. There is more affordable models in the mid to upper 20s on different trims. Less horsepower, less features. But this one would probably be the one you would want because it has the ride command, it has the more horsepower, it has, well, for some of you, it has the auto drive transmission. So it does have a lot of aspects that maybe a lot of us would want. But 35 is a lot for something that is like your RZR. So if you can make time for a machine like this, definitely. Now, my mind might change over the course of using this because I am going to daily drive it a lot more. The kids are going back to school. I'll have more time to run my errands in the Slingshot. So I'm excited for that. Definitely let me know what you guys' thoughts are. This is just a quick overview of what this machine is. I hope you guys enjoyed some of the shots that we had because it was a lot of work. Big shout out to my camera girl, my wife. She did a hell of a job. Shout out to Angie. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe. We do a lot of side-by-side content, but sometimes we sprinkle in some on-road Polaris Slingshot content. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure you like this video for the algorithm. And big shout out to all my YouTube join and Patreon members that you saw on the screen. And don't forget, visit glifeutv.com for all your performance side-by-side needs. Audio systems, exhaust, suspension, lights, whips, everything you need for your Polaris, Can-Am, Honda, Kawasaki. We got it. We'll get it for you.